What is up, guys? It's Giltspire here, and welcome back to Champions of the Fog. Today, I am joined by MrWatzit2yah. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's been a very wonderful Saturday.
Happy to hear that, happy to hear that. And we are here watching a match between Monarchy and Regicide. We have Regicide up on killing first on the Groaning Storehouse. You excited?
I'm very excited. I want to see what kind of killer we see, because I know, like, a lot of times, like, we've seen, like, more than likely the same killer, but let's see what we get into with this killer.
With that being said, we do have a bit of a surprise as we do see the Blight on the Groaning Storehouse.
I would say this is very interesting in a way. Like, with the Blight on Groaning Storehouse, he has a lot to work with, to bounce off of. I'm really excited to see how they play this, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm very curious because my one concern of Blight on this map is mainly around the middle area, where if you get there's a lot of tight tiles that Blight can't really work well around. But once you get people out on this outside here, as we see with Alpha Domo going down, that will be a quick 1-2 punch. I mean, LT walls are Blight's favorite thing next to Shaq. And so we see there just really good usage of their ability. And that is within the first minute of this match. So these survivors are already in a tough spot.
This is true. And as we see from the slams and the aura reading, we can see that he has the, what is it called? The
Compound 21, 32, yes. Something to that degree. But Compound is a really good add-on reading, add-on. And honestly, working well here for the Blight. And he's able to jump right onto these survivors if they just end up bouncing near them. So it'll be interesting to see how influential that aura reading will be. Obviously, as we see here, the aura reading's allowing them to kind of maneuver around back and forth, but not really able to gain much ground as long as the Claudette plays smart. And we see the Blight potentially deviating from this chase, but opting not to heed the Tinkerer, but gets the really good mind game on Claudette.
I don't think Claudette expected with like the red stain going away at the last second.
Yeah, I think you're 100% there, especially with Tinkerer. It's kind of hard in the first place because you're not able to track their red stain, and then thereafter the red stain is going away last second, and Claude kind of having to make a prediction of where exactly they've gone. So yeah. Really good plays by Wispy here on the Blight, and another great hit.
Building very well.
Yeah, that was unexpected. If I was Ace, you know, I maybe would have played that a little bit differently, playing on the corners rather than there, but Wispy knowing exactly where they are and disengaging from Ace now. You know, making good usage of Ruin here and getting a really good solid hit on Nia. I mean, between the one person on the hook, two people injured as we speak, and the only person being healthy being all for Domo, this is a really great place for Wispy to be.
And looks like Domo might be around the area. Yep, there he is. Trying to go for the save, but looks like he got stopped by Blight.
I mean, that's a great person for Wispy to find too, because since Domo's already been on hook, this is always going to be fantastic because that's going to push them onto second stage. And if they can get back to that hook fast enough, they can also push Shiro also onto second stage, which we do see here. And it looks like they're opting to not go for the pickup on Domo. A little bit surprised about that. You know, though the slug pressure is going to be fantastic for them, at the same time, I think they probably could get Domo onto second stage here now.
Yeah, getting someone on second stage at 4 gens this early on could be useful, because if he starts losing that pressure, he can easily tunnel Domo out and get an early kill.
Yeah, so though I do like how aggressive they're playing around that, I do think it may have been a wee bit of a mistake, as we do see Domo back up, and now them trying to get the BT hit, but looks like BT was applied by the Ace. And Ace coming in clutch there with that body block. Was kind of scared for Claudette for a second there, but it worked out in the end.
He's just taking those pallets, and especially with Blight's ability to slam into a pallet and just break it instantly.
And a very good flick at that. So really good, you know, usage of their shreds, reducing resources as the game goes on. And though we were concerned about them not getting a survivor out early, that is Claudette out of the game. So really, really good place for Wispy to be in, already with one survivor down at 1 gen completed.
Yeah. If he had hooked Domo earlier, that could have been someone else he could have gotten out, could have went after. Looks like a little mutual agreement going on.
Yeah, you know, just having a conversation there, you know, trying to see if they're gonna vault or not. And Wispy trying to get some tech going and gets the down on the pallet.
That was a very tight turn to make, and I'm actually surprised that Nia was not able to pull the pallet down in time to stop. Ow.
Yeah, looks like they may have not called out Tinker earlier. We see Domo down on the ground, and looks like Wispy's going to go for the pickup on the Nia, though also finds the Ace here and gets another hit. I'm not sure if Ace maybe was trying to go for the pallet, and they do get the pallet stunned, giving Ace a little bit of distance, but probably not enough in order to avoid getting down here. And sure enough, Keeperly goes down. And now all that Blight needs to do now is find this Nia, and looks like this game might very well be over.
The only way I can see this being saved is if one of them has Unbreakable, but if Claudette had Unbreakable, then this is probably a GG right here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, this is right now all within Wispy's control, and it's just going to come down to what they do, and we do see Keeperly back up with that Unbreakable.
Now he's probably gonna go for Domo on the other side. Now that Nia's lured him so far away from both slugs.
Yeah, I mean, this makes the most sense. Hook the Nia at this point in time and try and make up some pressure here. But I will say that gen must have been really, really close to completion when the Nancy went down, because it's already back to Tinker, and we see that Ruin is still up as of this moment. Blight does miss that hit, but does reclaim it there and gets Domo down on the ground.
Nice.
So, gonna be interesting to see here. Obviously, we know that Keeperly is over here in main. Blight very much on top of him. And so, Keeperly is gonna have to try and avoid the Blight until he's either able, A, to get the unhook, or B, to get the pickup on Domo. Because we've already seen Unbreakable out, but there is that possibility that Soul Guard is gonna see more play. I have noticed that a lot of teams have not been cleansing Ruin. Maybe that's with the intention of, you know, using Soul Guard.
This is true. Like, even for our team, we haven't really gone able to cleanse totems properly, and having Soul Guard would be a very beneficial thing to have, because if a tome's still up, that's basically like a second Unbreakable, and if the killer's hovering over you, you can take that hit.
Yeah, I think that might be something that we see more and more often as teams get more and more confident playing around Ruin. But that being said, this ain't looking good. I do not think a Soul Guard's in play. And I think this will be a GG for Monarchy. Though we see the Deliverance on Keeperly as well. So, don't count Monarchy out just yet, I do suppose.
Blight's probably gonna rush all the way towards Nia's hook in hopes of stopping it, but I don't think he makes it in time.
Yeah, they'll get the unhook, but Ace then goes down. Now Wispy has to make the choice of going after Nia, who could be the one running to yes, or it could also be Keeperly. You know, this now does raise the question of, what do you do here? One person on ground, Unbreakable's been seen, Nia goes into locker. Do you grab her and face DS, or do you just forgo it? And looks like Nia did have the decisive strike, but against a Blight, that 5 seconds worth of distance ain't much to work with.
Nope. Already. Ooh, nice 360 right there by the Nia.
Yeah, overall good dodge there on that Blighted Rush, but it's not really going to mean too much in this moment, as she's going to either have to go for the pickup or the unhook, and is just not able to make it work, and so that results in another down. And that's all for Domo out of the game. And looks like we're also going to see OFE on deck.
Maybe Keeperly gets lucky and has points very close to them.
That would be the saving grace here for these survivors, but even then, it's not exactly much to write home about. You get that one person out, that's a 3 additional points, and it's not nothing, but it's not anything that you can really work with in this moment either.
This is true. With a great game that the play has put on. it puts Regicide at a very good position to capitalize on when they put out their survivors next match.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, that being said, we see the hook on Keeperly, and that'll be one additional progression here, as that will result in 5 points for Monarchy and 42 points for Regicide's Blight. So going into game number 2, Monarchy has a very, very steep hill to climb up on at this point in time to try and just reclaim some pressure, as they'll be going into game number 3.
Game number 2?
Oh, so they're going to game number 2 now, but game number 2 is what allows them to get into game number 3, and game number 3 is normally probably the most important match.
This is true, because more than likely both sides put out their killer and both sides put out the survivor, so let's just hope Monarch can make a bounce back with their killer.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the question. And, you know, as we talked about in some of our earlier matches, the name of the game here on Grading Storehouse, as well as Yamaoka, is going to be mobility, mobility, mobility. And we see that here with the Blight, and just a really, really good showing overall.
When we're talking mobility, one thing I really want to see is a really good Billy come out on one of those maps.
Billy would be nice to see. I still think that Billy does struggle in a lot of areas that Blight and others really do succeed at. So, do I think bringing that Billy in this situation is the right idea? Probably not, but we'll have to wait and see if maybe come game 3 or game 4 if we do see them instead.
We'll see. Hopefully we see some things.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. What are your thoughts, though? So overall in that match, you know, Blight was putting down a lot of really good pressure, getting quick successive downs. What are your thoughts on what the Survivors may have been able to do better?
I think one of the things that the Survivors possibly could have done better was maybe play main building a little bit more, because with so much of the environment to bounce off of in the Groaning Storehouse map, he is very dangerous in open areas. So when you're playing main building, you have such tight areas that he can't predict. So they probably could have played main building a little bit more, to where it may have been harder for the Blight to get downs faster. I believe they were just caught up in the open areas far too much.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I think that they were caught out on those outside areas a little bit too much. We saw those LT wall downs. We saw many instances where they're able to play even main building really, really well. So, you know, overall, just amazing plays by the Blight and really making it really difficult for the Survivors to make any real distance. I also think that if you look at that main area, really became difficult for Survivors to you know, really use any pallets. I didn't really see many pallets in that main area, so I think RNG could have also been a major issue.
Yes, this is true. RNG can be a very weird thing, because we've all seen in some instances where the map has put in those quad areas, triple loop setups, very weird pallets going into a nice safe window TNL type of thing. So maybe RNG was not on their side.
Yeah, I mean, it is really hit or miss, and that's where I kind of talked about before in some other matches, where I would love to see Behavior eventually be able to seed maps. We're able to choose where pallets are, where gens are. Obviously, it's already predetermined, but having specific seeds for that could really be a game changer when it comes to comp.
Yes. Because I think I have, like, there was an instance or two where I've been on Groaning Storehouse myself, and I have seen a quadruple pallet setup that was extremely strong, like right outside Killer Shack, and it was just not a fun day for a killer. And I played killer where I've had that setup, and it is just extremely hard to down someone, especially if they're a very strong survivor and know how to loop.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, it'll be interesting to see if we ever get that feature in Dead by Daylight. It's one of those things that, though I wish for it, it's very unlikely, in my opinion. With that being said, though, we'll have to wait and see. You know, Behavior has surprised us before of certain things. We're going, okay, I didn't think that was on top of mind, but, you know, not going to complain. Speaking of things that Behavior's doing, we've seen some updates from PTB to Live. Want to get your take on two major things, Built to Last and the Boon Totems. What are your thoughts on the changes or lack thereof in those regards?
So I played the PTB, and one of the things that I really found overpowering, first of all, the Boon Totems, they were extremely powerful. I remember I played a couple matches with Chef Mitchell. There were instances like they were very horrible on Midwich, I remember, because I had just cleansed the totem. He was in chase with a Deathslinger on Midwich. I had both the healing and the steep run. That killer completely lost him when I activated it because Mitchell was not leaving any more scratch marks.
Yep. Yeah.
And the other thing that made it much more horrible was that on smaller maps, Boon Totems would overlap, like their areas. So that means you can gain double effect from the Boon Totem. So like I remember I tested this out with a friend and we went to game map. I was swiffing with them, all of us brought it, we all found a totem, and we were literally like healing at 300% faster. And I was just like, that is broken. They need to fix overlapping and possibly reduce the range. Like
so
I would, like 28 meters is pretty big.
So I'm not sure if you've already seen this or not, but that has been changed. Basically, what they've changed for Boon Tome specifically is that they no longer overlap. So if you have two within that area, they will no longer get that additional buff. At the same time, they did increase the time it takes to bless a Hex Totem, but they did not change anything when it comes to when you snuff out a Boon Totem. You don't crush the totem, it's not a one-time use, you can still reapply it pretty freely. And I think that was my biggest thing about Boon Totems, where I found them concerning, both for just, comp play, but also for general use, where I felt like there is all of the reward with no risk that came with a same sense of, a Hex Totem, for example.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts? How would you nerf Boon Totems? Do you think that the killer being able to break their own dull or Boon Totems would be that deciding factor? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I feel like a good nerf, possibly for Boon Totems, would make them like a token thing. So, like, we have perks like Distortion stuff. They start out with tokens, and every time it gets used, you lose a token. Imagine if we gave Boon Totems like the max here, you get 2 tokens. So once you bless a totem, you lose 1 token. If the killer destroys it, you decide to bless another one, then they destroy that too. You have no more tokens. You cannot use Boon Totems anymore. I feel like that could be a possible thing, because being able to infinitely apply it multiple times can be somewhat of is just a little bit overpowering in my opinion. And then I don't think it's a good thing that the killer should be able to break his own totems, because like killer could have Noed or other ones. And the one thing I remember is like the Boon Totems can take over a Hex Totem, which I really found interesting. I thought that would be like hexes remain for the killer, you have to break those.
Yeah, my main concern is, and though I do like the idea of using tokens, and though I agree with you the thought about, killers breaking their own totems, most times Noed is once again a risk versus reward, and I think that theoretically speaking, the killer can, theoretically keep a totem up, even if it's a Boon Totem, knowing, okay, I have Noed, I don't have that many totems left, let me keep this one here, right? So I think that what we could see is that the killer has the option to break or to just snuff it out. So my main concern is just the fact that you're able to reapply, and though it does take 16 seconds to reapply it, if you have Circle of Healing, I mean, there's so much value that can be gained by having people re-heal, because normally when you heal Survivor, it takes upwards of a collective 32 seconds, so just by one person healing in your Boon Totem, you save 16 seconds. Next person, you save additional 16 seconds. So it adds up very, very quickly, to say the least.
Yes, I hear you on that. Because one of the things that gives the killer like pressure is having the survivors take time to heal. So being able to heal like that extremely fast makes the killer lose so much pressure. Yeah. And that's what killers need.
Oh, exactly.
in this game.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens once it hits live and what survivors decide or how they decide to use it. But I do think this is the first time in a long time that we've seen a perk come to live and to have it be what I would be considered a meta perk. So will be interesting to say the least. With that being said, though, I do have another question for you on another controversial perk that is coming to live, which is Built to Last. With the current changes of Built to Last, what are your thoughts there? My opinion is that, you know, in pubs especially, it goes way above and beyond, especially if you're running Commodious Toolbox. You know, Built to Last, Streetwise, Charge add-ons. You get so much raw value there. What are your thoughts there?
With the changes to Built to Last, in all honesty, I feel like Built to Last really didn't need that sort of a buff because, like, sure, like once you use the item, you gain 50% of it back. That's not that bad, but with the new changes, it's just crazy that like once you use the whole thing, you just go in a locker and you get 99% of it, and then if you lose and use it all again, you get another like 66, and then recharges back to 66%. Then it goes back to 33%. Then it's pretty much done at that point. It's just, I feel like people will be, in a way, using that perk like by bringing toolboxes. Imagine like bringing a very strong toolbox, adding like let's not even mention like adding Streetwise to it and some of those other perks that can help keep items like last longer in a way.
Increase their efficiency, and that's why I mentioned like Streetwise specifically, because I think that for the most part, once you get towards the 66% mark, you're actually going to get diminishing value. But with toolboxes, you can do that. You can recover it to 99% to 66%. And at that point, you have basically 3 toolboxes worth of charges during that time. So it'll be interesting to see how prevalent, you know, that becomes. And I'm very curious to see, you know, if your average survivor really thinks that Built to Last is that strong, or if it's just those who realize the strength of, you know, a good Commodious toolbox.
Yeah. It will be interesting because, like, in my opinion, Built to Last was at a perfect, like, place. And I think once seeing, like, that whole increase to stuff, it just was insane. And I've seen like videos on it where people have like done like a healing, like someone brought a med kit, and that med kit they quit Built to Last, like botany knowledge, self-care, and another perk I cannot remember. Oh, in Streetwise, they were able to heal, not like extremely, like very much, like they healed like about 10 times in just one game. And it was just like, this is gonna, like, with that buff to Built to Last, it's gonna make those types of builds extremely broken in the game. Just being able to,
I don't know.
Like, I just feel like it could, because, like, without, like, in a game, if you don't have a med kit or something, you have to have someone heal you. Being able to just heal yourself frees the survivors to continue doing gens and stuff.
Yeah, but realistically speaking, fact of the matter is that you are not going to heal yourself more than, let's say, 3 times. But fact of the matter is, with a toolbox, you're going to get a lot more value as far as time efficiency is concerned. So, I don't know. I don't believe that being able to heal yourself 8, 10, 12 times is really that efficient. I think that it is going to really be around toolboxes and toolbox efficiency. And though people will say, well, you have to spend time in the locker. Yeah, it's 12 seconds. So as long as you're getting 12 seconds, more than 12 seconds back, then it becomes worth it to use. And you're going to be getting a huge amount of pressure because of that. But we are jumping into game number 3 as of this moment. And we are seeing another Blight.
Interesting. So we have... So, Regiseed brought out their Blight, now Monarch is bringing out their Blight. I wonder if their Blight can stack up to what Regiseed's Blight did.
Yeah, that will be the question, to see whether or not this Blight stacks up to what Regicid's Blight was. And right now, so far, a really good early chase. If they're able to get this down in timely manner, you know, this will be very similar to what we saw in seeing there with Moth, a really good attempt of trying to get that slide tech on that tile to get the down, but just not able to make it work out in their favor. But these survivors throwing pallets very early, and, you know, trying to not give the Blight any time to work on these survivors, not to give them any health states. So I wonder if that's going to come back to bite them in the butt later, as we do see the resources get dwindled down bit by bit.
And as we see there, also using the compound add-on to see auras, trying to play the mind games around these types of loops, you know?
Yeah, Compound, once again, being another perk that we see. This is actually the third time that we've seen Blight today, and the third time that we've seen Compound used. And really good Firecracker play there. Blight not exactly going anywhere when he can't see, but not really able to identify where the survivor went thereafter, but has now seen the Nia that's going to be going for a hit around that corner, but to no avail.
I'm a little bit surprised that actually did not hit.
I mean, it can be tough sometimes when you're playing Blight, and we do see that unhook attempt by Laker, but not able to get it before taking the hit, and Meg will trade with the Nancy. Now, the question is whether or not the Blight is going to attempt to get a additional down on the Nancy, knowing that she's still there in the pocket. I don't think we saw her leave during this point in time.
And we see scratch marks near Killer Shack.
We do indeed. That, more likely not based on the blood, is the Nancy. So I imagine that Blight will try and go for her and try and get a quick down here, as that would allow them to potentially get someone onto second stage quite early into the match. I mean, Corrupt Intervention just went offline, but Wispy does have Decisive Strike and will hit the Blight with it. So, good news, bad news, Blight now knows no Decisive Strike is in play, so they'll be able to make this work for them in the future. And Trump attempting here to get some really good slide techs in, but not able to string them together in a way that gets the Nancy down the ground, and opting to force the second stage here on the Meg, who's currently on hook.
Right now he has very good visuals on the whole map, having the hill right next to that hook.
Yeah, and that and the fact that just in that pocket right there, so it's really hard for survivors to get back there without the Blight being able to see them, really hard for them to leave that area too. Though we do see here where they are able to start getting some more gens in that middle area, and that's kind of the area that you want to keep as long as you possibly can. But we do see that second stage hit for Meg, and that does mean that one person is now on death hook. No decisive strikes in the game, so Blight can very easily just go for that down and subsequent hook if they so deem it necessary.
Yes, and as we see that there are 3 gens now on the board, and this is where Regicide 4K'd at. So let's see if Monarch can step up and get a 4K here, but more than likely we'll see Regicide probably complete 1 or 2 more gens, possibly.
I mean, hopefully. It depends. We see Regicide right now with 4 people injured, no decisive strike, while Monarchy still has a lot of pressure and 3 gens to really barter with. So though they might not get the same exact score, it could very well still result in, you know, a very similar match result at a 4K, which, as any killer, I think that's what you're looking for in this moment.
There goes Meg out the game early on. 2 gens left.
Yeah, and now they're back in chase of Nia, and once again, we're seeing the resources be used up bit by bit. Nia trying to keep away from the Blight for as long as possible. I think she knows that the inevitable is coming, but is just trying to give her team as much time as possible. And she does use a Dead Hard pretty well. Blight trying to get a quick swing at that window, but not able to make it connect.
That would have been a very, very good hit and early down right there.
And looks like Moth here is opting to go for the gen instead, knowing full well that these survivors are on this generator, and will end up going for the Nancy. We did see Ace back there as well, so I do imagine that he'll be back on that gen, trying to crank it out, and just trying to get a survivor out of this match, I think, is what their game plan is going to be. You know, Moth is playing well, definitely not as aggressively as we saw Wispy play Blight earlier, as we do see 3 gens completed in comparison.
Yes.
So,
and as we see for what is it, Registry, it seems like they are playing, like they're making sure that they're not getting caught out in the open as much, and when they are playing like the open areas that Blight is very strong in very well.
And I agree with you on that. And we saw Nancy trying to use the tree as an obstacle to dodge that hit. And to be honest, Moth cut that really close. That was a really, really close swing there, where they almost did not have the reach and almost fatigued out right before swinging. So great timing there. They're gonna rush back to that pallet or to that gen and attempt to get a pop off. And seeing no one here is actually quite surprising. As we did see Ace and Nancy here earlier, but Ace is nowhere to be found, and I think Moth is thinking the same thing, going, okay, what gens are they on at this point in time? I think they're going back for Nia, who was back here on this gen, and we do hear it cranking away, and sure enough, there's the Nia. We'll take the pallet end. I think that's probably going to be the end of this chase. It's going to be pretty quick, as she doesn't really have much of an area to work with. But Moth just not able to get those downs. Moth is starting to struggle bit by bit to get these fires down in quick chases. And I think that's what's going to cost them this match if they keep it up this way.
And like I said, Registry is, for them, even though that they are wasting resources, they are playing the open environment. They're using the environment to the best of their ability and playing it phenomenally to where they aren't getting downed as fast.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, and some really cheeky mind games there by Nia, using corner to her advantage and just ensuring that the Blight's able to swing right past her. But an attempted corner attack does result in her going down.
And looking at the gens, there is a very good possible 3-gen back near Shack.
Yeah, but with the Shack on Hill really, really well progressed, and we see that last gen pop off, that was my main concern for them. So I don't know if they're going to be able to get this 4K at this point in time. I think it's arguable to get the 2 or 3K, but the 4K seems a little bit skeptical. And we see
Nia body blocking.
Nia not just body blocking, but note something. That wasn't BT on Nia. That was...
Adrenaline.
No, that wasn't either. That was actually, I think, a Medal of Man, because we see there that she had an additional BT hit thereafter. So Nia took a Medal of Man hit, and then in addition to that, also took a BT hit all the while. So really good usage of those body blocks, to say the least.
Very true, and as we saw there, Ace playing very body blocking the Blight, protecting Nia to get a free escape right there. It would have been huge if Monarch could have gotten Nia down and possibly hooked, because there was no decisive strike in play. They used it very early on, so that could have been huge if he had down Nia, picked up, and then gotten the Nancy.
And I 110% agree. But with that being said, we are looking at 29 points for the Survivors and 27 points for Blight with Monarchy. So definitely not the results that Monarchy was looking for, I'd imagine, as that does result in 32 points for Monarchy and 71 points for Regicide. So that is right now a 39-point game, or rather difference between the two. Monarchy is going to have to make a huge comeback in game number 3, you know, potentially trying to get a 4K on as few gens as possible. Otherwise, we're going to probably see a blowout as we go into game number 4. But with that being said, we're jumping right on in. I do believe Moth is playing again. So, no need to reset the lobby, though we'll have to get their builds in. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts on that? You know, some really, really good plays overall from both sides, but the Survivor side just bringing it in at the end.
Survivor side really brought it in at the end, especially with that unhooked play by the Nancy to get the Nia off. And it would have been huge if like I said, the Blight was able to get the Nia as she was going to the escape, but Ace played body block very strong, allowing allowing time for Blight to get stuck and caught up to where he couldn't make the hit or the turn in time.
Also, it looks like
her to get free.
Yeah, also, it looks like you're right. It wasn't adrenaline. I wasn't thinking of it at the time. I thought it was Metal Man. I was like, wait a second. They got hit. Didn't notice. Okay, they don't have a BT stack. Interesting. And then still had the BT stack later. So, you are right about the adrenaline play there. But I seriously thought it was Metal Man because, like, wait, why don't they have BT? I'm so confused. Are you still up?
Yes. Even though, was it when the survivor comes off the hook with the adrenaline, sometimes I'm actually surprised with the like that the endurance effect will stay on. And there was one thing I've noticed, like one time I got unhooked and I had full stacks of Metal Man. I took a BT hit, but my Metal Man was still up. So when I was running towards the exit gate and I got hit one more time, even though I was in the deep men state, I was still able to take the said hit again because of my Metal Man and get out.
Yeah, it is a very interesting interaction. That's why I was like, okay, they definitely have Metal Man. You know, didn't see the BT proc, makes sense to me. And then I'm like, wait a second. Huh, maybe you're right. So, yes. Good call on that adrenaline play, because I honestly did not notice it with how quick she was injured. And I was like, okay, so she's already injured, no deep wound stat. Okay, so definitely Metal Man, which I would love to see Metal Man used more and more often. I think that it really is a undervalued perk for Survivor side, and I think if used right, I think it can get some really great value in comp play.
It is a very, like, people like to use it as a meme, as like a, in a way, meme perk. But at the same time, it can be pretty obvious because once the killer figures out like your intention going out of your way to take those protection hits, that would they kind of figure out like, oh, I shouldn't hit this person till they're away from this person to deny the protection hits and give them their stacks.
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting interaction and interesting how Metal Man can be used. I think more and more we're going to see Metal Man used in the future, as I think, you know, we're seeing more teams focusing in on body blocking. We saw it earlier today, even with Victor, for example, where people are taking body blocks and taking Victor pounces to ensure, you know, fewer and fewer downs. So it'll be interesting to see if we eventually see Metal Man used because of that.
Yeah, Metal Man is a very fun perk. I remember like when it the old one, the way it worked was like you could unhook and take protection hits, but now you just take protection hits.
Yeah, I kind of wish that Metal Man in some ways did get a buff, but at the same time, I've seen it used really well, and you really don't need to buff it any further.
This is true. Because back then, it felt like it was just way too easy to get the Metal Man stacks.
Yeah, that is fair, that is fair. Where now I feel like sometimes it's not easy enough. I feel like maybe if they changed it to where if you took body blocks or protection hits, they also count, maybe when a survivor is not injured. Right now, protection hits only stack when you're within a certain meter distance of an injured survivor. I wonder if it would make sense for them to change it to where if you just take body blocks in general, that would give you a stack.
That would help out a lot, because that is what I've noticed, is that it only works when you take a protection hit for a injured survivor.
Correct.
Sometimes it does hurt when you intentionally take a hit for like a healthy friend. Like let's say someone's death hook and you take that hit for them and hopes the killer chases you, but it doesn't. There's no reward for taking a protection hit because they're healthy. Yeah. And I wish like it could be, the game could analyze like, oh, he's in chase with this person, but he hit this person instead, and that can count as a protection hit, because like even though like the game analyzes that you're in chase with a specific survivor, if you hit a different survivor because they get in between you, I feel like that should count as a protection hit. But hopefully it'll be brought up in the future.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think the main thing there is the fact that, you know, injured versus healthy, and I'd be curious to see if that change would make Metal Man even better. But I don't think behavior really is looking at Metal Man at this point in time. So if you ever see a Metal Man buff or a rework to some degree, I think it's going to probably be pretty far off.
I feel like it will be very far off, because there are probably far more perks that are being looked at to be reworked.
I'd agree with that, but after a quick build check, we look to be good to go, and we are on the family residence as we see Moth here again with the Wraith.
Wraith is a very interesting killer on this map. I mean, very high mobility. Sometimes with this map, the one thing that just very annoys me is the bamboo. The bamboo can be trouble sometimes if you do not know this map 100%.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. You know, sometimes people think of going through the bamboo, and when they actually want to go through it, they end up walking into the geometry instead and not able to get much distance. But I think Wraith is a good choice here. Good mobility killer, able to get around the map very quickly. Though this is not a very large map, all things considered, it feels like it because it's more rectangular in shape than other maps. So you kind of have a lot more of a distance to cross from one side of the map to the other, even though it is not all too large.
And as we see, Regicide again using resources very early on to deny hits to the Wraith.
Yeah, they have no fear in using resources, and we saw it last game too, where they used them pretty well, and though resources became sparse at the end, they're still able to make up for it using body blocks. And Wraith here fall into some mind games. I am surprised not to see All-Seeing used this match, as we do pretty much see that on almost every single Wraith.
This is very surprising, and as we see, 2 gens go off the board. Wraith not having a very good match so far, and there we see Broken Status effect applied onto Ace.
So that would be indicative of a forced penance, as he did take the body block. Maybe Moth here, recognizing that Regicide is very keen on getting these body blocks to try and extend chases, and thus because of that, bringing forced penance is actually a huge heads-up play.
Very interesting. I've not seen forced penance be used much. Very much like in comp, but like not even in pub. I rarely ever see this perk used, but it is can be a very strong perk to use in the right hands.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Wraith, one of his main weaknesses are those flashlights and firecrackers, and unfortunately for the Wraith in this situation, just not able to dodge that flashlight behind that hook, trying desperately to get behind it and use it as cover, but to no avail. However, is able to get the hit on Wispy, though at the same time, no hooks have been granted thus far, so things are not looking good for Monarchy in this moment.
Yes, not looking very good.
Yeah, so far,
we can see with just constantly chasing, having trouble chasing survivors, and even though with them knowing force penance is in play, not afraid to take protection hits for each other.
Yeah, it is definitely high risk, high reward, right? Because that's 60 seconds of time that you will be broken. So on one hand, you are able to ensure that you extend that chase further, but you need to also stay out of the way of Wraith during that time as well. So definitely some give and take to say the least, but we do see Wispy going down, though I am willing to bet that there's a survivor nearby for that pallet stun, and looks like Moth was keen on that idea as well.
Ooh. Trying to get a little cheeky there, get that, hope that hit lands, but ends up getting a pallet instead.
And at the end of the day, sometimes reduction of resources is what you want, but in this situation, I'm not sure if Wraith was the right move to bring against this team specifically. We saw how good they played against Blight, and Blight is a much higher lethal mobility killer. And we are seeing here kind of a similar thing where Wraith is trying this hit and run tactic of going back and forth between these between these survivors, just not really able to capitalize on all the time. And
yes, and as you stated earlier, very surprised not to see All-Sting, as they're playing a lot of these tiles and stuff very well, and being able to have that aura reading, being able to in a way predict mind games, could have helped out a lot on this map.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. All-Seeing is just a really great perk to use in these situations, because you're able to understand where the survivor's going, counteract their mind games, and really apply a lot of good pressure. But Wraith is just struggling constantly, especially with these light burns, consistently being harassed by the Nancy. You know, really great usage of that flashlight and utilizing the killer's weakness in this moment to try and get some good chase pressure.
Very true. And as we see, the Nancy goes down, and if I were the Wraith, I feel like this is where you just need to camp, make the survivors come to you, and hope to. And with the way this is. Oh wow, someone was right there.
Yeah, that's an instant unhook, and I know what you're going for, and I see kind of the play in essence. Unfortunately for the Wraith here, they really can't play that way. They can't wait for survivors to come to them. We see that only one gen is left, and these survivors are very well aware of the fact that they just need to get as many people out as possible, that this is the, this is Monarchy's game to lose in this moment after last match.
And what really hurt the Wraith, as we saw like not too long ago, everyone on the board was injured. Now, all of them have reset. All of them are able to run free, take hits, and more likely they will be taking protection hits for those who need it. And even though that they know that he has Force Penance, they are still not afraid to take that Broken Status effect and take protection hits for each other.
Yeah, Wraith's only hope at this point is that in the end game, because of those protections, because of the Force Penance, that maybe he's able to slug out and get a few extra hooks. But at this point in time, things are just not looking well, as we do see that last gen pop off, and Wraith's still struggling to get their next down. If I'm off in the situation, the pressure is on, and I imagine that they are definitely feeling it at this point in time.
And the one thing that is hurting him a lot is that they are running back to pre-drop pallets that they have used before. Wraith not having time to break said pallets and get them out the way early on, so that leaves a resource for them to utilize against him in this late game.
Yeah, it's very good heads-up play, knowledge of where teammates have thrown pallets, and being able to utilize that to your advantage in those moments. Though Wraith is able to get the down, but I think it's going to be all for naught, as we don't really see any way for Monarchy to reclaim the amount of points that they need here. So honestly, if I'm Regicide, I'd be willing to just, leave the 3-man out. But they also have hook states to gamble with for all intent and purpose and try and guarantee the 4-man out, which will lock up this game in their favor.
It'd be interesting to see them come back and attempt an unhook, possibly go for a 4-man escape. Let's see how this plays out, because you were absolutely right. They could easily just let Kopi die and take the 3-man out. That puts them at a huge point differential for the Survivor team against this killer.
Yeah, if they get the 3-man out at this moment in time, there is literally no way for Monarchy to win this back in game number 4. So I think the best case here is just Monarchy Regicide says, okay, that's fine. You take the 1K. We'll be here, and we'll still win the game nonetheless. So honestly, if I was them, I'd not be all too concerned. But looks like they're opting to go for the unhook here, bringing in 2 people. And surprised not to see that 3rd. And we do see that hit, and now we have the body block train. And cloaking up was a little bit dicey, as that almost resulted in them getting burned there. But they were able to avoid not only the firecracker, but also the flashlight. And now we're trying to guard the exit gate from the Claudette and try and get the kill on her, if at all possible. These survivors now trying to heal up, but they don't have much time left, so I think the best case scenario is draw the Wraith's attention and potentially get out that way. Otherwise, they'll just heal the Nia and go from there. But Wraith doing that might result in them getting out, and looks like survivors may have... Nope, they're still in Shack here. This is an interesting play. I mean, Nia can take the hit out. She gets out. Ace is out. Nia's out.
I wonder if Claudette is running towards the hatch.
That'd be
the hatch where Nancy.
That would be the only hope. It's going to be a close one, but Claudette does get hit by the EGC and will end up dying here. Even still, nonetheless, though they did gamble some points away, that still is going to result in Regicide with 38 points and Wraith with 18. Total points looking at Monarchy at 50 and Regicide at 109. Unfortunately for Monarchy, even if they were to get a perfect game, no hooks, and every man out, that's still 9 points down. So in this moment, that will be a GG well played, and congratulations to Regicide for that win. But we'll still go into game number 4, you know, see what Regicide wants to bring in as their throwaway killer for some fun.
Yeah, it's more than likely we will see a throwaway killer. I'd be very shocked if we saw anything but a throwaway killer.
Exactly.
But for throwaway killer, like, what if you had to do a throwaway killer? What would you want? What would you want to see, Gil?
I've said it before, I'll say it again, would love to see some Legion play. I think Legion's always a fun time.
Yes, I think everyone can agree that they love going up against Men Simulator.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, Legion's a very unique killer in the style where their, you know, power really is able to snowball constantly, right?
Especially with so many good perks that complement his slowdown and ability to keep survivors injured.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with some good usage, we could see some really fun Legion play, but it's going to be interesting to see nonetheless. You know, would love to see Legion, maybe some Trapper. You know, we also haven't seen a lot of, I guess we have seen some Clown, but, you know, have a plenty of options, I imagine, for Regicide here.
Plenty of options, because as we've seen a lot of the teams bring out like S and A tier killers, with plenty of teams still having throwaway killers in the DEC and B tier. So I'm from Regicide, I'm seeing a throwaway killer.
Yeah, exactly. So looks like Wispy will be killing for Regicide once again. And it'll be interesting to see what they bring to the table. If you had to say who your preferred throwaway killer is, what would you say?
Prefer throwaway killer. If I had to choose a throwaway killer, I'd probably throw away a. You know, I'll probably want to bring out the demo puppy, because who doesn't want to see a good puppy?
Yeah, Demo is nice. Demo's actually not a bad killer, though. In certain circumstances, Demo can be used pretty well. But at the same time, when I say that you're going to bring him out when, you know, points are tight and you need to get that 4K, so maybe Demo would be a good option for a throwaway here.
Another thing that would be really like nice to see along with throwaway killer, a little bit of a meme build, you know, something funny.
Yeah, so I wonder if you were to bring a build here. Let's move away from the killer. What build would you like to see from both Survivor and Killer?
Oh, I remember one time, as a meme thing that we did back in Vigos. The game was already over. We accepted defeat. So, Chef Mitchell and another teammate of ours decided to run No Mither on Ormid against an Oni.
I'm seeing some
that was
people.
A very huge shock.
I'm seeing people say Myers they'd love to see, Trapper, Trickster, Bubba. I mean, I do love me some Bubba, but Bubba ain't much a throwaway killer. He can put down some good points in the right circumstances, though. It really takes the right map, I will say. But looks like, you know what? That chat says it. I would love to see some Michael Myers, actually.
Michael Myers is a very fun killer to use. I always enjoy using him, especially with that tier 3. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a struggle to tier up due to the fact that Survivor is using the environment to block out, to break line of sight with you. That can always be a little bit of a struggle with Myers.
It can be.
Any type of stalking killer.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Myers is really the only stalking killer. I don't think many people really stalk with Ghostface all too much, especially not in comp. But I would love to see Michael be played, you know, probably double charge add-ons, let's be real here. You want to get outside that tier 1 as soon as possible and try and get some tier 3 action going. So, would be interested to see some Michael. On top of which, though, you know, speaking of Michael Myers and how he is right now after the PTB goes live, probably the only F-tier killer in the game. If we were to ever see some changes to Michael Myers, what would you like to see?
Some changes to Michael Myers. I honestly wouldn't even know what to possibly give Myers. I don't know, maybe anyone within the stream would want to put out some ideas that would they think that would benefit Myers. I I honestly have no idea what would be pretty good, some pretty good buff towards him. I know like maybe something that could help him out with like possibly like we just increase like his rate of stock, just like his base rate of stock a little bit, up it a little bit. I can help him out a lot.
Yeah, that would definitely be an option. I think, honestly, you know, either increasing his rate of stock or simply removing tier 1 and putting Myers in the game at tier 2, increasing the amount of time it takes for him to move to tier 3 could also be an option. Also, just remove the cap per survivor for the amount of stock you can get. It is so annoying when you find a survivor and you go, cool, I'm at 99% for tier 3, and you go stock and they're like, and they're maxed out.
This is true because like that is actually something I would mind that they remove because like let's look at some other killers that can use their power infinitely. Like I know Oni and Myers are completely different, but yet Oni relies on getting the blood of survivors. He can go into his power multiple times as long as he keeps people injured. So that is something that like imagine like if they nerfed Oni and they made it to where like, oh, survivors will stop bleeding at a certain amount of time. Like what is that like?
Yeah, that is fair. You know, Myers is definitely one of those few killers where he has a cap. I'm seeing that one guy D saying faster stock and base kit. I could agree with that. Faster stock and base kit in addition to faster speed in tier 1. I'd be fine with them having a tier 1 in that case. At the same time, I just kind of feel like, yeah, just remove tier 1, have him be a 115 base kit, you know, increase the amount of time it takes for him to move to tier 3, and call it a day. I'd be pretty happy with that change too. But overall, you know, there just needs to be something to make it so that he isn't, you know, as bad as he is currently. But unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the IP holder and what they approve or not approve when it comes to the IP conversations and contract that they have with behavior.
Yes. One of the things like just to mention about Myers, I think one things like not like just Myers like as a killer. The one thing I would really want to see, I think it's time for them to rework Haddonfield. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times I have on the map as killer or survivor. Like, I don't even like Haddonfield as survivor. It's just because it's just there's just too much stuff to work with on that map, especially like the 2-story window vaults.
It's not the worst map in the game, but it definitely is a frustrating one when you have survivors who can play it well as a killer. So I can definitely understand that. I would love to see a rework there, but once again, it really comes down to the point that the IP holder needs to give that approval, and we did see the license renewed not too long ago, so who knows, maybe we do see a rework at some point. But with that being said, we do see Mr. Freddy Krueger himself here to teach these survivors how to play jump rope. Was this what you were expecting at all?
This is not what I'm expecting, but as you can see, I know the stream cannot see the set build, but like, what do you think of the build? Like, I feel like good killer, but like, you know, having a little bit of a little bit of a fun build.
Definitely a fun build. We'll see if our keen-eyed chat will be able to notice what perks this killer is using. You know, maybe we'll have the mods, if they are able to, confirm when chat guesses a perk right. Maybe chat will be able to guess some perks here and there throughout this process. Well, that being said, that will be the first chase there, and first pallet down. I mean, nice thing about Freddy, I will mention, is the fact that he does have a lot of mobility as he is able to teleport from gen to gen.
This is true. He does have very great mobility. Sometimes it can be a little bit rough when like teleporting because it takes a little bit of time to teleport, especially with it giving that notification that they are teleporting.
Exactly. But we do see a really good hit there. Very good example of Freddy Longarms getting that hit before the pallet and get another hit through a pallet as well in that moment. So great things, all things considered. We are seeing some haste increases here and there. So it does appear that they are using some play with your food.
And then as we saw there, I don't know if the stream caught that, but as you saw when the Nia slammed the pallet on Freddy, we saw an aura reveal. Very interesting.
Yeah, very few perks interact in that fashion. But looks like chat is already guessing here and there on what perks Fredboy here has in store. And we do see Keyflurry down on the ground. Great usage of those snares.
And as we see Infinite CBD commenting saying Coop, and he said play for food, question mark.
Yep, so got 2 guesses so far. Play for food, coup de grace. Those are two perks that are in use. Noah not available in COTF, though, you know, very good choice for the most part.
And then I see a little comment right here by Idle Trasher. Fake pallets would be smart.
Fake pallets would be fun. I don't care for fake pallets all too much, but I think in the right hands they can be quite useful if survivors aren't on communications. I think that's more of a pub build than anything.
I think, like, let's not even mention when, what was it, like the last update when them dream pallets could actually hurt Freddy?
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was interesting to say the least, and I found a few content creators using that during the time to, you know, have some fun with the dream pallets and survivors being very confused when, like, wait, what just happened? So we also got confirmation someone did name it Nemesis. So far we have Nemesis, coup de grace, play for food. Of course, we did see Corrupt Invention earlier, so that is the full meme build, and it's working quite well. I mean, Nemesis and Play for Food, really good combination of perks, and of course, coup de grace, you know, just emphasizing the meme that is Long Arms Freddy.
This is true. Gil, in your opinion, any fun like meme builds that you like to run with any specific killer?
I mean, there's of course the fun ones like the basement build, Agitation, Iron Grasp, Mad Grit, and Forced Penance or Starstruck. You know, always fun to run that on, you know, a killer like Bubba and just run backpacks, right? And what I always do when I do that, chat requests me to use it, is I just make it so that, you know, in order for me to put someone on the hook, I need to choose my next backpack. So I first have to down someone with someone on my shoulder, then they become the next backpack, and so on and so on.
I love using Starstruck. So what the? How did that not hit right there?
I think that there may have been a cheeky dead hard there, but unfortunately, they dead hard into a wall, and we're not able to gain much distance.
Not getting any distance, but still does waste a little bit of the Freddy's time with that miss hit.
Indeed, but not gonna matter much here. We do see Fredboy has lost 4 gens, but these survivors still being pressured in chase nonetheless, and Freddy getting some good hits in with these coup de grace. Like I said, the meme that is Long Arm Freddy really coming to play here, and
wow.
not just Long Arm Freddy, but High Ping Freddy apparently too, getting that really what I thought was a late hit on that window.
I actually was about to question that until I saw a hit register, and I was just baffled that that even hit.
Yeah, I was like, okay, why don't you swing? And then they swung and like, oh, that was really late. And then like, wait a second, the hell?
But this is DVD after all. Like, what do we expect when it comes to hits? I have been hit so many times that there were hits. I'm sure that everyone in the chat can agree that there have been some very questionable hits that all of us have either had as killer or have had against us as survivors.
Yeah, that one from Spectator, though, was quite interesting, to say the least. No doubts about that.
I think I still have the clip under the clips on my channel. I pre-dropped the pallet against the raid, and he kind of like froze mid-swing, and then the pallet was already down. As I'm running away, all of a sudden, he comes out of the swing, and then all of a sudden I just get hit, and I get speed boost, and I'm just like, how did you hit me? Like, there was a whole jungle gym between us. Like, how?
Yeah, that sounds like desync. I'd be willing to bet you were either on Cold Tower, Ironworks of Misery, or Treatment Theater.
Surprisingly, Father Campbell's Chapel.
That one I have no explanation for. But with that being said, we did see a really good adrenaline play there. Nia taking the hit and immediately hitting with adrenaline. But it looks like Wispy's going to spend some time with Domo here on Hook. And let's, you know, check in on these survivors as Freddy has some fun and, you know, just having a chat with Nancy is all.
Just a nice little piece of a conversation before he delivers her to the entity, you know?
Hey, no, just going back to the nice warm campfire. It'll be all over soon, so no doubt, no doubt. But we'll see if these survivors attempt to get the 4-man out, as they are starting to surround the Hook, and looks like Nia found a rock she can climb up on.
And there goes the pole right there.
Yeah, a bit of a misplay there. They end up getting the pole, and now Freddy here with Survivor on their shoulder, playing on that rock right there, and ends up dropping the survivors. There's the firecracker play, the blind, but are they able to get the unhook? They are not, and Domo does die on Hook.
And I do not know if he'll be able to get Keeperly on the Hook, because after having her on the shoulders for so long, and looks like they're just having some fun with the rock.
Yeah, you know, there's, you know, saying, you know what, we're all winners here. You know, we'll just share the podium together, right?
Sometimes, like, the best matches are the ones where people are just, you know, just vibing, having fun, doing the most random things. I remember I was in a clown match one time, and I found all the survivors, and they were just doing, like, a light show, clicking, doing a little rave on Father Campbell's Chapel.
Yeah, no, that's why I do like streaming game number 4, even if it is a, you know, set game and match. Just because we do get to see things like this with stretchy arm Freddy of coup de grace, or Nemesis play for food, stuff like that. Some fun stuff that can happen, or teams bringing, like you said, no mither, or distortion, deception, and so on.
Yes, having like doing like some deception plays and other ones like that are always a very fun time to do.
Indeed, indeed. But that being said, the final results of the match are 88 points to Monarchy, 128 to Regicide. That being said, congratulations to Regicide for the win. And GG, well played to Monarchy.
GG's to both teams. They all played extremely well, saw some great games, and was just really fun to see that last game. Just everyone having fun, just playing some Freddy with a little bit of a meme build.
Indeed, indeed. But with that being said, that there will be the end of this match and the end of this round as well. So we'll be live again tomorrow, however, at, I want to say 6, but let me confirm. Tomorrow's match is going to be starting at, let's see, 8 p.m. CST, or Fortnite Locker versus Travesty. So definitely make sure to be there for that match. And then we do not have any other matches tomorrow, so definitely make sure to be there for our singular match, Fortnite Locker versus Travesty. Looking forward to that. And, MrWatzit2yah, before we do go, if chat did want to go say hi next time you're live, where'd they find you?
They can find me at on my channel, MrWatzit2yah. I've been playing some Apex lately, but still always down for DVD. Did a little bit of, like, Drunk by Daylight last night.
Very nice, very nice. And as always, guys, I'm your commissioner and primary host, Giltspire. You can go check me out at twitch.tv/Giltspire. I'm an educational Dead by Daylight player, here to teach kills how to play Killer and survivors how to play against Killer. So stop on by on Monday at 7 p.m. CST. Looking forward to seeing you there. On that note, guys, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!
See you all next time.